Welcome to Android development video number 8. This will probably be the second last video using this application. So what we're going to do in this video is modify permissions for our application. So we're going to give it permission to access the internet. Then we're going to create an asynchronous method that will open a URL and display the URL results on our view. So just in another text area. What basically we're going to do is get the high scores from a website, and whatever you output from the website we can read in, and there's different ways including XML and JSON or anything else to read in that data and pass that data and make it something useful. In this lesson all we're going to do is grab the text itself. Okay, so I'm just going to drop in a little text view underneath our reset scores, and I'm going to call it high scores. So I'm just going to give it an ID and give it a string. So text high scores, and its text can be a new string. Okay, and I've just broken my naming convention, so normally I'd probably trash that and reuse it, but oh well, can't be too fussy these days. Okay, so we're just going to make it so when the application loads, it grabs that high score. So we're going to build a new event basically to run this. Okay, so what we'll start off by doing is right down the bottom again, just inside of our application, we're going to create a public void load high scores. Now this will obviously grab the high score and then display it on our page. One of the things though about this, so we'll just make this run when the application loads. Okay, so just right up the top. I know I'm getting you to jump up, down, up, all the way to the bottom, all the way to the top. Okay, so we'll just make that load early on, before, it doesn't really matter when, but we'll just do it here. So just after we create our view, we'll load our high scores. Now one of the things about Android is that in order to connect to an internet website now, you can't do it in the main thread, so that what the main application is running on, because it could take a while to get a response, and in that time your whole application will hang. So to avoid that, what Android has decided to do is to say everything that basically needs to read the internet needs to be a synchronous task. So it needs to not run on the main thread, but run on a different thread. So what we're going to do is create a whole new class inside this one, and so we're using private. It's just going to be a private class. So private class, and we'll just call it read internets. That's not a special name, you can call it whatever you want. Extends, and this is the key bit, is we're going to implement the asynchronous task, or we're going to extend the asynchronous task object that Android has built in. So void. These are just some parameters we could have set, but we don't need them. Okay, so you'll see that we get an error there, and we'll just fix that by importing. So we've just imported that object, and then we see it must implement these inherited abstract methods. Okay, so what we want to do here is put in override, and so this is where we're going to actually implement those methods. So protected, so it's only accessible here. Void, and then it's do in background, and this name does matter because it is it's we're overriding the asynchronous task that we've extended. Okay, and then it wants void ... params. So we don't need to give it any parameters. I think this is actually a capital V, which is so it's actually an object void. Anyway, just see how we go. Okay, so in this one, it's very similar to reading from a file, except we're reading from a website, and we're doing it obviously as a synchronous task. So we're going to try and catch our exceptions. And we won't do anything with it. So if you do start to get errors, then we can have a play with that to find out what the problem could be. What error are we getting here? It must return a type of void. Okay, so we just down the bottom just do return, oops, null, just to get rid of that error. So a bit like the other video, I'm just playing around with this myself, just trying to remember exactly how to do it. So maybe watch through this part and then you'll see me go, whoops, I put the wrong thing in there, and then I'll go back. Alright, but what we'll start off by doing is setting up a URL object. So that's basically URL, and you'll have to import to fix it, and we'll call it text URL and equals new URL. And the URL we're going to use, here is actually from like a website under my domain name, but you could use whatever URL you want. This one works though, it works inside and outside of Swinburne. So I know you might, normally I'd put it on CRT3, but I know you might be doing this at home. So I've just put it up on juderust.com, which has nothing on it. So it's not very interesting. Okay, so we're creating a URL object here, and that basically, you can set different things like encoding type. In fact, if you do new URL and have a look there, you can see the different things that you're able to set. So if you're connecting to a particular server, you might hide it on a different, port, or you might set some particular settings. This URL object allows you to do that, to specify everything about your connection. Okay, and then the rest of it's pretty easy. We've done this before. Our buffered reader, our BR equals new buffered reader. And in that we give it a new input stream reader. So it's just going to read from our website the same way that we're familiar with reading from files. And then we give it our text URL object and open stream. So it's a bit like when we opened our file and we gave it our file object into our input stream reader, into our buffered reader, and now we can read the contents of the file. What we will need is a global variable or something to store that result in. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll just make it a class wide for our read internets class, and so we'll just create a string called high score. We'll actually set it to empty to begin with. So then we do very similar to what we do in when reading a file. We'll do a line, so string line, and then we can go while our line equals br.readLine. So you remember this, it would seem familiar to you perhaps, is not equal to null. So while there's still content coming from the website, while there's more lines to be read, and this, remember, reads the source of the website. So if you did view source in Firefox, that's what this will be reading in. And we'll do high score plus equals our line. So that's going to append whatever it's just read, so the next line, onto our high score text thing. Now, this URL actually only returns one line, so we're sweet here. But just for testing purposes, this makes it, if you've already got this code, it makes your life a bit easier. So we'll just set that. And then we'll go br, our buffered reader.close. Excellent. And so this is all we need to do. This sets up we've set up our global variable. We've put in what we've read from the website, and now what we actually have to do is say display it. Because we haven't done anything to display it yet, and we actually do that in another function, another overridden function. And so we've got this one, protected void doing background, and there's another one we need to override, which runs once the task is complete. So it's protected void. I think that is a proper void. We'll just see if I get errors. On post execute. So this is kind of after it's run. So on post execute, and it's void result. So we're not passing through. We're passing through a null object to it, but as our result. So basically, here what we want to do is go show our results on the page. So we'll grab our text view. Oops, not like that. Text view. Text high scores, wasn't it? High scores. I just do it in lowercase, and text view, and we'll find view by ID. And just use autocomplete to help you here. So text, I don't have it there. What ID did I give it? I'll just have a quick check. Oh, I haven't saved, perhaps. I'll just save that. I'll just check the ID. Text high scores, okay. So we'll just, again, now that I've saved that file, it might show up. Text high scores, beautiful. And then we'll go text high scores, oops, lowercase, high scores, dot set text, and we're going to pass it our high score string. So this one, the one that's been set with whatever was in the file, high score, oops. Okay, actually we'll put a little bit of text before it perhaps, high score, so that you can see that it's working. And the final thing you need to do in this particular on post execute is we actually need to run the super, so it's parent classes on post execute function. So on post execute, and then we just pass it that result, which was null, null anyway, but that makes everything work happily. Okay, so we've got some fairly simple code. Most of it's familiar. The only new thing is this read internet extends a synchronous task, and now we need to actually run this. So we've already set up our load high scores function to run when the page loads, and so now we basically just need to do a new read internets dot execute to make it run, and you don't have to give it any value. Alright, let's give it a shot, see if that works. Oh, actually, let's not see if that works yet. So what we've done here is we've said access the internet, but we actually have to give permission to our application to access the internet. And so we do that in our Android manifest. So there's a line of code. I'll actually show you, I'll give you the code that needs to be put in. I'll just paste it into our Java file for now, just so you can see it, and so that it's available later. This needs to be in the Android manifest. Okay, but we can actually set this through the Android permission object as well. So we can do this through the kind of the graphical user interface if we want to. So when we go to the Android manifest.xml file, so Android manifest XML, and we click on application, and then we look at permission, and we can browse here, and we're basically putting in that line, this bit, Android permission internet, which allows our application to access the internet. So Android permission, and it should be, yeah, you should be able to kind of select it once you're done, and just save that. Now if you want to view the file to see where it's actually put it, it just puts it inside the application manifest, so you can see it there, Android permission, internet, so you don't have to do what I just did and put it on a new line. I'm just a bit, just like to be laid out nicely. So we can see that that permission's put there. So now our activity is going to be able to access the internet. And let's run that and hope we don't get too many errors, but instead we get our high score. Okay, it's just booting up. And did I accidentally click on? Yes, I did. Oops. Launching. Okay. Here we go. Okay, it looks kind of like it hasn't worked for some reason. And so we'll just have a quick look. I might just quickly have a look. Or it may not fit on that line, which is also possible. So it's possible that the text does not fit there. What I might do is just go back to here, and I can't remember what was the actual. Oh, that's the same text. Just make sure that we're running this. I'll just double check that we've modified the permissions. That's probably the most likely reason it's not working. So it's just making sure that this string user's permission is manifest wide, and I probably didn't do that. I probably just set it. So I set permissions for our application, but you also have to set it for the entire package. Users permission, Android permission, internet users permission. So we'll just save that, and we'll give this one more go. So if we just set it so that on post execute high scores plus our high scores, and we'll see how we go. I've got an error somewhere. Oops, that's not the right one. Not there. Oops. Here. Cool. And let's give it a run. Okay. Here we go. High scores, Jude Russ, 1,000 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws. So as you can see, it's just some text that it's grabbing from the website. So this Jude Russ 1000W0L0D is exactly what the website's outputting. So normally what you do is you'd pass back some kind of serialized data so that you could then put it into an array or make it useful in some way. Alright, thanks for watching video 8, and I'll see you in the next one.